Hey, happy Saturday. It's September 13th, 2025. I've got 3 immigration stories that caught my eye this week, and I wanted to share them like I would if we were sitting around with coffee. These are the sorts of things that affect real plans. Job offers, travel, and whether staying in the U.S. after school still feels doable. First up, big picture in tech. There's a new NFAP analysis showing Indian IT firms have cut back on sponsoring entry-level H-1B workers like crazy. The numbers are pretty stark. About a 56% drop in entry-level H-1B applications from 7 major Indian IT companies, going from roughly 100 in 2015 to around 700 in 2022-23. And some of those firms also saw approval rates fall by about 75%. Crazy, right? What's interesting is how this shifts who's hiring and where. U.S. companies still lean on H-1Bs to fill specialized roles. But a lot of those big Indian players are stepping back from sending people over. That changes the pipeline. Fewer entry-level H-1Bs from those companies means U.S. employers might have to hire locally more, or look elsewhere. For people in tech, that could nudge salaries, the types of roles available, and even which cities get the most hires. If you're a student or early career engineer, it's the kind of trend that might change what companies you target, or how you plan the first few years after graduation. I also want to say, this isn't just policy paperwork. For families and folks planning moves, it affects livelihoods. If a company that used to sponsor you isn't doing that as much anymore, you have to rethink timelines, visas, relocation, the whole thing. Now the second story is a smaller, human one, but it hits emotionally. A Reddit user in Chennai shared that he and his wife were denied B2 visitor visas under Section 214B when they applied to go to the U.S. for the World Cup. The Seattle and Los Angeles dates in July 2026. He's a 31-year-old self-employed video marketer. They showed solid savings, about 8 lakh rupees in the bank and another 30 lakh rupees in mutual funds. Still, the officer chatted briefly and handed them a 214B denial. That kind of post gets to how unpredictable some interviews can feel. From what he wrote, there wasn't a long interrogation or missing documents, just a quick conversation and a denial. People get upset because on paper they had funds and ties, and yet the outcome felt abrupt. For anyone planning travel, and especially for people who've been through visa interviews before, this is a reminder that outcomes sometimes hinge on how the short conversation goes, not just your paperwork. It's also a reminder to have realistic expectations and backup plans. If you're booking expensive flights, or making big non-refundable plans around a visa that's not guaranteed, that stress is real. The third story ties back to jobs and opportunities. International students in the U.S. are seeing a tougher path since around August 2025. The economy isn't collapsing, but hiring has cooled. Unemployment is hovering near 4.3%, and companies have started slowing or freezing hiring in some places. For students who depend on part-time campus jobs, internships, or OPT after graduation to build experience and pay tuition, this changes the calculus. What I keep hearing from students is uncertainty. Will there be a summer internship? Will an employer rescind offers? Will OPT be an option if companies aren't hiring? Those internships and early roles are how many international grads try to stay in the U.S. and grow a career. If that pipeline shrinks, fewer students may end up staying here, and some might choose other countries that are more actively recruiting global talent. Put the 3 stories together and you see a pattern. Hiring practices are shifting, visa outcomes can feel random, and the student-to-worker pipeline is under pressure. That doesn't mean everything's ending. Lots of people still find jobs, get visas, and build careers, but it does mean more planning and maybe more backup options. If you're in one of these groups, here are a few simple things to think about. Keep multiple plans for work and travel. Don't lock everything into non-refundable moves until you actually have a visa or signed offer. And if you're a student, start networking earlier and look at options beyond the usual internship pipeline. Alright, that's my roundup. I pulled these stories from visaverge.com. They had the NFAP numbers and the Reddit discussion and the student hiring context all in one place. I'll keep an eye out for updates and anything that looks like it will change people's plans in a big way. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes this Saturday. If you've got a story, good or weird, Hit me up and I might mention it next time. Catch you soon.